Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive, with the 3-time world champion, Rizzo. What's up, Ray?
Dan, it's going quite well. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing even better after our week 1 victory over 2D is greater than 3D. Headed into another week of MBL Season 3 here, Season 4. I don't know. I'm bad at this stuff. But we're going to be taking on Team Crumpet, which is Game Boy Luke and Patters. This is looking to be a pretty fun matchup. They lost their first week battle, but it was to a moody Glalie. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that match, but I felt really bad for them.
Yeah, and they lost their, I think it was Pangoro turn 1 to a Fairy Z Mew. And
yes.
Then Glalie just went to town after that.
Yeah, so
it was pretty heartbreaking.
It was a tough one. It was a tough one. But for those who aren't familiar with the league, we had our match last week. You can check it out. It was a really, really epic matchup. And the way it works is the team builder's on my channel this week. The match will be on Ray's channel. So make sure you subscribe to Ray in the description below so you can go check out the battle, which will be up tomorrow. We're going to run through this team builder really quickly here, talk about what we're bringing and kind of why we're bringing it. We can kind of look at a quick rundown of Team Crumpet here. Ray, what was your first thoughts looking at Team Crumpet? And they have some pretty big intimidators. What were your first thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, and intimidating was definitely the first thought here. They've got, 3 different intimidate Pokemon, both their Megas and then Gyarados too. So definitely scary for physical attackers. And so that was one of the big things coming into this matchup. Definitely want to rely more on special attackers here. And you guys are going to see that once we go through some of these sets here. But try to put ourselves in a position where against some of these intimidators, we can still come out ahead, not only surviving some of their powerful attacks, but then being able to KO them when maybe they don't expect it if they're thinking we're going to have more physical-based attackers. So that was one of the big strategies. They do also have a Trick Room mode if they want to go for it, but we have a slow team as well, so not sure if they're really going to go for it in this matchup, but in an outside of Trick Room matchup, we do have our own advantages, both with Tailwind with Charizard, and if Sun is up, we have Victory Bell. So we can definitely play in either Trick Room or outside of Trick Room. So I like that about our team, and I like it in this matchup too.
Yeah, so I think one of the big things you'll point out is the Gothitelle Mega Mawile matchup. Gothitelle obviously having Shadow Tag in VGC, which can lock the Pokemon in and keep them from switching out. A couple other things to note is Gyarados being a setup sweeper is always very, very scary with Dragon Dancing. Superior is pretty weak, but it can definitely run a Leaf Storm, Hidden Power Rock type set and be kind of annoying there. Chandelure is just annoying because of its Flash Fire ability, which is what I would expect them to bring if they bring it. Choice Scarf Chandelure is something they could bring, or some sort of Z Crystal like a Never Ending Nightmare, which could be pretty good against us. Dragalge is very slow, but hits very, very hard because of its adaptability, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Vivian is a unique matchup that Ray and I kind of talked about a lot, and the fact that it gets this very special move called Powder, which would basically stop any fire-type moves coming off from our Pokemon like Charizard and actually inflict 25% of damage. So that's kind of something for us to kind of keep in mind. Diggersby being a very hard-hitting Pokemon, really nervous about that because it just hits so hard. And then Pangoro, as you mentioned, got one shot last week, but it's a hard-hitting Pokemon with great dual stabs. So, I think we kind of pretty much prepared for everything. I think we're more expecting to see the Mawile, Goth, Manectric, Gyarados, those 4 for sure, and then kind of 2 other things sprinkled in, I think would make the most sense there. But we built a team of 6 to kind of try to handle everything. That was kind of our approach. So this time we actually set it up properly too. So Ray is going to have Incineroar, Garchomp, and Victory Bell on his side of the field. I'm going to have Charizard, Vikavolt, and Gigalith on my side of the field. And Ray is also going to be bringing a Quagsire in the back. Not going to come to the match. And I'm going to bring Kartana on my side of the field, and I'm not going to bring it to the match. So we didn't feel like those were needed. We felt like the 6 that we were bringing were the best. So Ray, you want to talk a little bit about kind of your Incineroar? I guess we'll start there.
Sure, so the very first thing you guys will notice is that we're a special attacking Incineroar. So, Incineroar has a much higher attack, but against 3 Intimidators, we definitely felt like special was the way to go here. Overheat's going to be able to one-shot Mawile, where maybe it might feel safe staying in against an Incineroar if we get to -1 or even -2. And then Dark Pulse as well. It ended up doing just as much as something like Darkest Lariat, but of course we might get intimidated, so Dark Pulse will be better there. Other than that, it's pretty standard. It's got enough bulk to survive Manectric Thunderbolt twice, and that's going to be a 3-hit KO on us. It's got Intimidate again for their physical attackers, which is nice. We can U-turn out of Goth, which is also nice. And then we had a little bit of speed in case they tried speed creeping us with one of their slower Pokemon, because they do have a few, like the Mawile, the Dragalge. They have a few slower Pokemon that they might try something pretty unique with, but we don't want to be caught off guard by that, so a little bit of extra speed there.
Yeah.
And special attack is just enough, again, to one-shot Mawile. But even scenarios like if we have Sun Up and being able to overheat Mega Manectric, for example, could definitely come in clutch too. So I like the Incineroar, the fact that it could catch them off guard here. And I mean, even if they are expecting it, it's still really solid. The Bury's going to keep it alive pretty long. It's bulky, can deal pretty good damage. So overall, for just a very solid Pokemon here.
Yeah, for sure. I'll jump over to my Charizard here. I'm going to be bringing a Mega Charizard Y, of course, with Heat Wave, Protect, Tailwind, Ancient Power. We've got enough speed on there to ensure we're going to outspeed the Chandelure and Gyarados, sitting at 81 and 80 base speed, reverse there. But that allows us to run a Modest Nature, which is really nice. It's going to help out on some Calcs. The big tech here is the Ancient Power. I have a feeling we're going to get an Ancient Power boost in this game, but if we don't, it's still a solid attack. It's going to two-shot the Chandelure, and depending on their spread, it could two-shot the Gyarados. It just gives us a coverage option there because Chandelure otherwise with Flash Fire can kind of shut down Charizard, and we don't want to end up in that situation. But Charizard's job is to hit really hard with Heat Waves and rock those Protects, rock that Tailwind to kind of boost the speed of our team. So very solid Pokemon in general, and should be able to deal some good damage. And it also has a very important role this week in setting up the Sun for Victory Bell. So I guess we could jump into Victory Bell now.
Yeah, and that special defense too on Charizard is going to let it take a Manectric Thunderbolt in every scenario. So that's also going to be really useful.
Very much so.
And then, of course, if they do bring the Vivillon with Powder, being able to Ancient Power it is going to be cool.
Yes, that too. All right, why don't you fire away about Victory Bell here, I guess.
Yep, so on to Victory Bell. Pretty standard here. Weather Ball is going to be really good with both Charizard, allowing it to get fire typing to be able to hit things like Mawile or Serperior. But we also have Gigalith on your side, so we can use Victory Bell to even hit Chandelure, which is nice. So we got some flexibility there. And then Leaf Storm with Grassy MZ. I mean, that's just going to deal insane damage to anything that gets hit by it. And then even after we use our Z move, another Leaf Storm is going to just deal massive damage. So pretty standard set. Encore is also pretty common on Victory Bells. It allows us to kind of lock in opponents into something like Protect if they're trying to stall out the Sun, or if we get a few KOs early and they try and keep one side alive, we can always just lock it into Encore for the rest of the time Victory Bell's on the field. So it gives us some nice support there. And the EV spread is pretty standard. The speed is just the minimum that we needed to outspeed everything that they have, especially if they decide to Scarf anything or if they get a Dragon Dance up on Gyarados or things like that. And then just the remaining in HP, just in case.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the Victory Bell. You mentioned the Weather Ball. It was really nice with Gigalith, so I'll talk about Gigalith next. I've got Figgy Berry there to kind of add some longevity. I think having a Z Crystal on this would have been nice, but you'll see we actually decided to go with Z Vikavolt this week. But Sandstream's going to be really cool to boost the special defense of Gigalith and also provide Garchomp with that nice power boost. It's also going to give that Rock-type Weather Ball for Victory Bell, which could be really, really cool, predicting a Chandelure move or something like that. We decided to go with Stomping Tantrum instead of Earthquake because we wanted to be able to single target down that Mawile and Manectric. With them having Gyarados and Serperior and some other things that could fly, and us having, truthfully, wanted to keep Gigalith on my side of the field. We didn't want to have to force ourselves to Earthquake our Incineroar, Garchomp, or Victory Bell, so we felt like a single target Stomping Tantrum was better. Stone Edge is really nice because it hits really hard and can crit through the Intimidates, which I think is very valuable. And then last but not least is Curse, just to kind of boost our attack and defense, which could be really useful against things like Gyarados specifically, or maybe even Diggersby or Pangoro, being able to get a Curse boost up on when they kind of think we're just going to attack or whatever. I think, Gigalith is a very weird matchup in this game. I don't necessarily think it's going to be the All-Star, but I think it's going to provide sand, which is nice, and I do think it has an okay matchup against things like Manectric and Chandelure and stuff. So I think it was worth bringing, and it was kind of hard to justify something else over Gigalith because it does provide some, offensive increase for Garchomp, and it just can, sponge some hits, especially on the special side.
Yeah, definitely agree there. I think Gigalith is probably maybe our weakest link in this matchup, but it still can do some really useful things for us. And if it just does its job, then that's more than enough, I think. So if we can get some decent damage off with it, sponge some attacks, set up sand for a potential Weather Ball or with Garchomp, I think that's doing its job. So not expecting a ton from it, but, I do think it has a solid matchup here.
All right, so let's talk about our lead matchup. We're going to be leading Garchomp Vikavolt going into this match. So Garchomp is on Ray's side of the field. Let's talk about Garchomp.
So Garchomp, another example of a classic physical attacker going fully special on our team. And again, this is because of their 3 Intimidators, and we hope to lull them into some false senses of security here. Being able to Earth Power the Mawile and Manectric has a very good chance at picking up the one-hit KOs on both. If they EV them, really, really bulky, then they might survive, but has a really, really good chance here of one-shotting both. Draco Meteor just for some extra coverage, another pretty powerful attack, and then Hidden Power Electric, only for Gyarados really here, but perfect accuracy. It's going to 2-hit KO it, and you know, we didn't think a fire move was going to be too useful here. It's good against the Vivillon, it's good against Serperior, but really Draco Meteor is also good against those Pokemon, and we felt like the rest of our team already covered those matchups, so we decided to go for the Hidden Power Electric just to improve our Gyarados matchup. And then as for the EVs, we can take a Manectric Hidden Power Ice, we can take a Scarf Chandelure Hidden Power Ice, and that was what we felt was most important. So that's the gist of our spread. The speed is just the fastest we need to be to outspeed Gyarados and Chandelure. We needed all that special attack because, you know, Mega Garchomp has base 120, which isn't terrible, but it's also not like Vikavolt level, where we really needed to invest max special attack there to be able to get the KOs that we want.
Yeah, and then its partner in crime leading this match is going to be Vikavolt here with Bug Z, Levitate, of course, Bug Buzz, Discharge, Protect, and Thunderbolt. This EV spread is really cool, so we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second, but basically the idea behind it is it's especially offensive Vikavolt, guaranteed to live in overheat from a modest max special attack Manectric. I think that that's really valuable in itself. I think that that could be a very likely lead on their end, is leading with that Manectric. We can also take a Play Rough from a Mawile, which is really nice, max attack Adamant Mawile. We can live that Play Rough. In the situation of the Manectric, we one-shot it with Bug Buzz, Bug Z. Thunderbolt is nice because it does two-shot Mawile most of the time, unless it's very, very bulky. And obviously this thing just puts a lot of pressure on his team with like their Superior and the Gothitelle not wanting to take those Bug Buzzes. Discharge is there just on the off chance they do lead Manectric Gyarados, because Manectric does have Lightning Rod, so it could not Mega Evolve and sit there and maybe Protect on turn 1, or kind of sit there and try to allow Gyarados a chance to Dragon Dance, but we'll be able to discharge it, hit it incredibly hard, obviously have a 30% chance to paralyze it, and sitting next to Garchomp means that Garchomp's not going to have to worry about that discharge, so it's also going to make them be really concerned about potential Earthquakes and stuff like that from Garchomp on turn 1, and it may force them to want to Mega Evolve or something, and like a Discharge plus HP Electric into a Gyarados would knock it out like right off the bat. So we've got a couple different options there to kind of make Vikavolt really, really good. I don't anticipate it lasting long. I think it's going to get off 1 or 2 big hits, and that's going to be it. But I think that's all it needs to do in this match for us is, you know, eliminate one of those big threats like Mega Manectric and give us an opportunity to come in with something like a Victory Bell later in the game and hopefully clean up. So that's really it. Anything else you wanted to add, Ray?
No, Dan, that was a great point. Really, for both Vikavolt and a little bit for Gigalith there, if they can just do their job, you know, trade their own life for maybe one of our opponent's Pokemon, or maybe even a little bit more, then that's more than enough, because what we envision here is getting into late game with something like Charizard plus Victory Bell, or even Charizard plus Incineroar, or anything, you know, powerful late game, and really just clean them up with the speed and power that we have waiting in the back. So that's going to be kind of our game plan going into this matchup, so we'll see if it works. We've got a couple of unique things there with special attacking physical Pokemon, so we'll see how that goes, but overall I like our chances here, and I mean, every match in the MBL is tough, so we'll just do our best and see how it goes. That's it, man. And sorry if we sounded like we were a little rushing. We actually are a little late to battle right now. So we're going to go battle, and you guys will see it tomorrow on Ray's channel. Hit that like button down below, subscribe if you're new, and we'll catch you guys in the battle. See ya. Peace. Peace.
Thanks so much for checking out my last video. If you like that one, you'll definitely like this one. And be sure to subscribe for more as I post Pokemon videos every single day.